Dan the man ain't going anywhere. There is wet concrete around the feet of Dan Lanning, and it's drying pretty quick. His feet are going to be in Eugene, Oregon for a while. Oregon and Dan Lanning signed a new 6-year contract last week that will keep Dan in Eugene through at least the 2030 season. This new contract makes him a top 5 paid head coach in the sport of college football. You're looking about a $2 million bump per year. The contract coming up this season starts him off at a $9.4 million salary, and it's $0.2 million more every year. At 2030, he ends at about $10.4 million. Lanning will continue to receive a $1 million per year deferred compensation program, and the buyout, $20 million. Make it $100 million. Make it $200 million, because the commitment between Oregon and Dan Lanning is at an all-time high. I believe Dan Lanning's commitment came when Nick Saban retired, and there was a lot of smoke. There was a lot of heat surrounding Dan Lanning's name and that Alabama coaching job. And when he put out that 1-minute viral clip, I will stay in Oregon as long as Eugene will have me. The grass is damn green in Eugene. If you're afraid of your coach leaving to go to another job, come to Oregon. Come to Oregon right now. That was Dan cementing and telling the Oregon administration, I don't care about anything else. I have everything I need here in the Pacific Northwest. I have everything I need. You have provided me everything I need here in Eugene to build and maintain a championship level of football. And then I believe this contract, offered by Rob Mullens, offered by this administration, approved by the board, was Oregon's return saying, we believe in you. We believe that you are indeed one of the very best coaches in college football. We trust in your vision. Why the hell would anybody not trust in Dan Lanning's vision? Certainly right now. But I believe now that they have complemented each other. They have both invested and pushed all of their chips into the middle of each other's table. Dan Lanning to Oregon, Oregon to Dan Lanning, certainly right now. And then when you look around at Dan right now and really his future specifically in college football, I talked about how Eugene, Oregon has everything. There have, for 20 years, for a long time, there have been immense resources to win a lot of football games, and Oregon has won a lot of football games. But there you have resources. You have the man in charge that knows how to take advantage of said resources. Oregon has everything. I look around at some of these other jobs in college football, and when Dan doesn't care about Alabama, when Dan doesn't care about the oil money at Texas A&M, when jobs like that come open, you know he's bought in. He and the staff and the administration are completely bought in to bring a championship, multiple championships possibly, to Eugene, Oregon as well. I think Dan's ceiling for this Ducks program is still to be determined. He's still a very young head football coach, guys. He is learning at an elite level. I talked about that. I think, we talked about the Rose Bowl and the lessons learned from that. I still think that there are lessons being learned in the early years of his head coaching reign right now at Oregon. We don't know where this ceiling is going to be. And considering Oregon just went through the Big Ten schedule, winning all 10 of their Big Ten games prior to the college football playoff, winning the Big Ten title in year one, Dan Lanning progressively climbing up the ladder when he started at 10 wins, that's pretty darn good. That's a pretty darn good floor to certainly start at. We don't know where it's going to be. That ceiling. We don't know where the peak of the Mount Hood is when it comes to Oregon football. Like, you see the mountain in the air, but the clouds are hanging on top of the mountain. You don't know where the peak is. And that's extremely exciting. But, I think Dan Lanning knows where he thinks the peak can certainly be for this Oregon football program, and that's at the very top, at the very peak of college football, certainly itself. Nothing makes sense for Dan to ever leave for another college football job. I think eventually down the road, the NFL may come calling 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, however long down the line. Dan Lanning has said in the past, hey, I'd kind of like to coach in the National Football League before, but right now my feet are planted in Eugene, Oregon, and making this team as successful as they can possibly be right now. Leaving for another job in college football just does not make any sense.